Hello, hello. Welcome to this lesson. So we have got something to design, a flyer. What's a flyer? A flyer is a leaflet or a piece of paper that you give to people. And this flyer is for Chameleon Coffee again. Our friend, once again, has asked us to do some designing for him. And it's to celebrate this ceremony for the under 15s five-a-side championships. Now, when people get this flyer, we want it to be attractive to them and interesting, so they will keep it, because the intention is they will go to his coffee shop and get 15% off pastries, and then he'll spend lots of money on coffee and he'll be quids-in. All right, so we want to design this in a way that is appealing to them and that will make sure they keep it. How do we do that? Well, let's go through it. First of all, let's just talk about how I've got it laid out at the moment. So I'm using Affinity Designer. It's version 2, just out. What I've done is just gone into a new document. And the way I've set it up is, because this is going to be professionally printed, I've made sure that not only have I made it like an A5, but I've given it some bleed. Now, what's bleed? Bleed is the edges of a document. So, especially in olden days, not so much anymore. You used to have to leave the edge. You have to make your design go off the edge of the paper, and the reason is that sometimes the pages would shift in the printer. It doesn't happen that much with the new digital printers, but with the old lithographic ones, you used to get a bit of margin for error that you had to just be cautious of, so you could make sure that it was printed, and then they would trim each item to size and give you the nice document you've asked for at the right size. So the bleed is just for the printers, just to make sure that they give a little extra room. Now, I've got my rulers enabled here, and I've just lined everything up and nice in the middle, kind of like roughly the text that he's asked us to include. Right, so the first thing I'm going to do is make sure that I get our logo. So I'm just going to drag and drop that in here. Now, you see, when I'm putting this in, it's going to have an embedded document. So the beauty of this is that you can go into this document itself, and then you can customize it if you want to. Of course, I don't want to change the logo. There we go. I zoomed in a bit too much to start with. Yeah, that was a mistake. Anyway, let me close that again. You can edit that document, and that's going to be pretty useful in a minute. Now, what we could do, if we were being very pedestrian about this whole design, is do this, and then they'll know definitely it's from Chameleon Coffee. But we're not going to be pedestrian, and I'm not going to put it there. I'll show you what we're going to do with it later, but we're going to put it down there for now, okay? Now, the other thing we're going to need to make this stand out is to embed a picture. Now, I have got one here. Affinity photo. Here we are. Now, I've chosen an image which is representative of the people that are in this sporting event. And you see it's come from this company Focused collection. Now, I can go to this image and buy it. Now, I could buy it myself and include it in the cost of my design, or I could charge our friend separately, or I could just do it for him as a favour, I suppose. But what I've done already, to save time on this, I've just got 2 layers. So what I've done here, I've duplicated this layer. You do that by just going right, click on it and duplicate, and that will give us 2 layers. What's a layer? So a layer, I guess it does what it says, really. It's hard to explain it. A layer is, it's almost like a different document. Like, it's completely independent from the first one. The only thing they share is like the layout properties. But what you can do is you can blend different layers together. See? You can blend them together. And keeping things on different layers just allows you the freedom to work on designs independently of another. So what I wanted to do particularly with this design is that I wanted to my work to be non-destructive. So I wanted to keep this original image and then also give us the ability to edit this one on top of it, just so that I could see what was going on and I could change it later if I needed to. All right, so I'm just going to finish editing this one. I was just erasing down here. I've got to click on the right layer to edit it. No, that didn't work. Hang on, I'm just going to wind back a bit because my image is gone. There we go. Right. Right, I'm just going to get rid of this area there. I didn't want to just spend ages. This is just the eraser tool. The reason you're seeing black, white and grey squares here, oh, that's a bit of a, is because this is the indication that it's a transparent background. Now you'll see a lot of images that you search for on the web have this fake cross-hatching. So I don't know how you're going to feel about this in the future, but this is, or whether this representation might change. But this basically says that there's nothing there. Okay. If it was all white, you know, that's quite hard to say if you wanted a white background, isn't it? So we're just going to do that. Now I'm going to save this image, and I'm also going to then import it in my new document. And I've already got it saved here. And when I drag it in, I will have a representation of that image here, right? What I mean by that is that I can still edit this document, and I've got edits I can save. Say I wanted to say, oh no, actually I've cut too much off this image. I want to go back, so photo, and I wanted to undo what I've done, and I want to put the grass back on the corner there. I can save it and then go back to designer, and it should update. Maybe it doesn't update in real time, but in Photoshop it does. Okay, so it would give you the updated image. Perhaps I just need to import it again. Yeah, it looks like I do have to import it again. All right, never mind. Sometimes so if you're using Photoshop, you'll notice that it updates in real time, but here in design it doesn't. Okay, so I'm just gonna think about how I want to do this image, and maybe I don't want to actually have any crops, because it does, like, crops are useful. It does make it stand out, but also makes it a little bit more difficult to place it where you want to go, because now it's got a very irregular shape. Okay, so let's just, I zoomed in again and I didn't mean to. Oh, go away. Zoom out. Oh, key combinations. I'm not very familiar with this program, so I'm trying to learn the right, there you go, key combs to get it to work. Right, okay, so say I wanted this here, like, I'm just going to do something that I think is going to look nice. So I don't want this layer to keep moving around, so I think you can normally lock a layer. Maybe it's up here, and there's lots of different options. I'm not going to go through the lock. There we go. I don't see the need to go through them all, okay, because there's something I don't know all of them, right? I'm just learning as I go. The stuff that I need as I'm editing stuff, right? So it's not that here I'm saying, oh, I know everything about this program. I certainly don't, but I do know how to get what I want done eventually. Even though there's a lot of different alerts here. Now, you see what I've done here? I've aligned this to the right side, because I just wanted to see what it would be like if a whole document was aligned to the right. Because I think that's kind of nice. It's a little bit unexpected if you've got stuff aligned to the right, because most people just center align it, and it's like kind of boring. But what you must be careful of is that you don't have different alignments in different documents. So if this was left aligned and this was center aligned and this was right aligned, then it looks a bit weird. Be careful of that. If the general rule is, if you've got stuff that's you should stick to one alignment, generally speaking, okay? So you should stick to, if everything is right aligned, then you should align everything to the right on this document. Okay, so we're just going to do that, and let's see what it looks like. I'm just messing here because I want to find a layout that looks nice. And I kind of like this sort of thing because you've got a hierarchy here, okay? They're going to obviously be drawn to the picture first of all. There's a little thing about this. Let me see if I can find it a second, where you can see what hierarchy people will look at things at in order. So there's little tricks you can do to get people to follow what you want rather than the page layout that exists naturally. And you can't, like, not everybody will read it top to bottom. People will flit around, and there's a certain order in which people can read it. I can't find it. But one thing you might be able to do is Z-index, right? So if this was, I'm just showing you this for example now, people generally follow things in like a zigzag pattern, and it follows like a Z. So if we were to draw a Z here, that's the kind of pattern that people follow when they're looking around a document. Okay, let me just make that ridiculously big. Right, that. So that is the pattern for how people will look at this. Right, they will start there, they'll read across here, then they'll go over here to the right corner, left corner, and then to the right. Now, of course, if you're in a country where there's predominantly right to left rather than left to right, it'll be the opposite, won't it? So people will start here, they'll go this way, and then go back down to the left, to the right here, and then to the left. All right, so just be conscious of the way that people think, and this is why I like design so much, is because psychology comes into play a lot when it comes to graphic design. So you are actually doing something that has psychological implications, and that to me is quite a fun thing. Of course, we don't want to abuse it at all, but we just want to make, like, it just makes things interesting, right? What I'm doing here, I'm just making that smaller because 50% off pastries is the key message here, right? So I want people to see that. Like even the text isn't as important as that 15% off, because that is the message you want them to take away, right? That they've got, that there's 15% off at Chameleon Coffee, and they're going to notice the logo pretty quickly, I hope. But they don't even need to know the rest of the information with this voucher. Is not as important. And arguably, see, if you don't have that prominently, you could argue then, but actually, you're going to get more, sell more, because they're not going to have a voucher. Do you see what I mean? Because people are going to come to the shop expecting 15%. Oh, it's only with the voucher. Oh, but they're here now. They might as well. They might as well get a coffee. All right, so I'm going to break with the rules here a little bit because, hey, convention, it's made to be broken. So I might put that off there to just make use of the Z index, yeah? And actually, now that I've got that Z index in mind, maybe I want to do that. That's not looking good, is it? Because that's got a straight line. I like it, but do you see what's going on here? It's not sitting as well there as it is there. But what I can do, of course, is flip the image around like that. And now it will sit nicely there. Okay, now we're getting the value of the Z index together there. Okay, now I think we've got a good Z index layout here. Yeah, is that the way? Is that to go like that? Yes, to go like something like that. Right, and have I got enough of this bleed? I think I probably have. Let's just make sure it's like that and move it up a little bit so we've got a bit of room there. Right, okay. Now there's no other, like, the other thing is I haven't used this typeface here that I used. And I can't actually remember what it was. So it might be good to make this a unified document. It's one thing, isn't it? And how do we do that? Well, we give it colors and font typefaces that are representative of the brand and the graphics that we've included. So whereas I've just put these in sort of like a random blue color, I might just use my eyedropper and, oh, I didn't do this. Oh, drat. Okay, I'm going to have to just do something silly a minute. I'm just going to have to authenticate this because it needs to read the screen. Oh, no. Okay, all right, we're going to have to just pause this. I don't want to lose what I've said already, though, so let's just launch it again, and it shouldn't take too long. Now, what I wanted to do is just to continue trial. Yes, I haven't bought it yet. I will, I promise, Affinity, I will buy it. All right, okay, what's my recent document? There we are. Okay, open that. All right, so what I wanted to do was to use the eyedropper to make this text the same color as the uniforms. Now, the reason for doing that, there you go. I find with Affinity, you have to click on that a few times before it actually applies it. Now, what I wanted to do is just unify this design. So I wanted everything to be colors that are used in my document. And you'll see that actually it's quite, do you see? It actually just picks up the image. It's like if you've got a scarf. You're wearing a scarf and you've got red dots on your dress and you wear a red scarf, then obviously the red scarf is going to highlight the fact that you've got red dots in your dress. Or when you wear a tie, you've got like purple pattern on the tie. If you've got a purple shirt, obviously it'll highlight. So it's about complementary colours again, as we learned a bit in the last week's lesson about colours, colour theory. All right, now the funny thing about this asterisk is that asterisk really isn't part of that sentence, and it's really bothering me that it's pushing the whole thing back that way, and yet that's not in line, and that's not in line either. So that is always a bit of a judgment call when it comes to design, whether or not you leave it hanging off the edge like that, or you include it as part of the text. But I have to legally include it because there are conditions to this thing, right? So I have to have that. So I'm going to leave it like that, although it does bother me slightly that it's not nicely aligned. Anyway, there we go. Now, typefaces was the other thing. Let's have a look at what did we use for that one? I can't remember what it was. Hopefully, I'll be able to find it in my list of typefaces. Just bear with me a second as I go through them. Don't even. Right, it's here somewhere. Oh, there's Futura. Do you remember that one? We said about that being a nice typeface before. Yeah. And I've switched, the worst thing is I've switched computers in between the last lesson and this, so I can't just go and have a look at my original design and figure it out from there. Oh, that's a bit of a shame. Oh, do you know what? It's not even going to be in there because I didn't import it yet. Haha. All right, okay. Oh, don't. Go away. All right. I'll tell you what, I'm going to go and do that later. I'm going to get the correct typeface. So, five-a-side championship ceremony. Five-a-side championship ceremony. I don't really know if that is said by these footballers here. Is that necessary information? This is the other thing, right? You've got to have a look at what is necessary information. And if, like, to be honest, that is doing the same job as the picture, isn't it? Five-a-side, that's a five-a-side. Five-a-side is football. Football is there. Do we need to even say this? I don't think we do. Because it's implied. And I don't like that colour either. I preferred the dark one. So let's, again, get the hex and put it back. Because that's much better, actually. Right, and let's just make this a little stand out a little bit more with the bold. Right, okay. And now I just have to adjust this to the right placement here. All right, now, is this Z index really working for us? Is it doing the job correctly? Yeah, I think it is. There. Yeah, okay. What do you think? I've broken the rule of alignment. But you see how this text is aligning up to the left, and this copy is aligning to the right, and that's on the right again. Now, that might be it, you know? That might be it. For some reason, it's not coming together for me. I don't know what you think, but I'm not really feeling it. You know, I think this needs a couple more iterations because the design here isn't really like hitting the right spot, the right notes. Let's just try something else. Let's pop this, let's flip this back over there. Let's left align it because I just didn't like that layout. It just didn't work for me. So maybe this will work. Yeah, no. Okay. It could be because my brain is a bit fuzzy today. But for some reason, this whole thing is going terribly wrong. All right. Or it's because I haven't got the typeface and it's not looking right for that reason. I don't know, it's coming a bit better, isn't it? It's working a little bit. Now that's a little bit avant-garde, isn't it? It's a little bit more minimalistic like that. There's a lot of white space because this is at the bottom now. It's not dividing up the area so much. It doesn't have as strong as a Z index as maybe we had before. But maybe we could rectify that by putting this there. See, that doesn't work for me. It doesn't work. I much prefer that. Yeah, I think that might be it, you know. I think I'm going to go to him and say, look, this is what I think we should go with, and just see what his comments are. Because quite often, like I was saying before, you want to involve your clients and the people that you're designing for, because they might just throw up something interesting that you hadn't thought of, and it could be quite valuable to hear that. Now, the other thing which I didn't mention is this photo. I did a very rough job of outlining these footballers. Now, yeah, you can see that it's not really great. I've used the eraser tool, but I haven't made it very big. Like, I could definitely do a better job of getting around the hair and things like that, but I don't want to. I didn't have that much time, and then maybe, you know, I could. What you can do is there are online services that you can use to do all this kind of like cutting around people's hair and making sure that the all of the background is cut out. So maybe when you come to it and you're definitely sure you want to use this image, then you could send it to one of these companies and they would do it for you in a matter of seconds, or you get some AI technology to do it for you, because that's quite fun as well. And therefore you wouldn't have to sit for ages doing this, which is kind of boring and really frustrating, and I hate it because it's just so fiddly. And there's no real reason that we should be doing all of this in this day and age, because there's no need. You can do it easily. Like, the thing is, you have to gradually get the brush smaller and smaller and go into smaller and smaller areas so that it looks realistic. And that's just very painstaking. So I'm not going to go through that. But yeah, what I'd suggest is that we take this to the guy. He will say yay or nay. Or he could say, oh, I hate that picture. Or he could say, oh, I've got actual pictures of the actual footballers doing the actual football. And that might be better too. So let's leave it like that. Let's take it back to him. What have we learned in this lesson? We've learned that centralized text is very pedestrian, and that actually what we do is influenced a lot by psychology. And what we want to do is to draw people in by using a Z index, which we can break. It's not a hard and fast rule, but it's just a useful thing to know about. And we have to highlight the main message and also where to get the thing that's being advertised, but also have something that's visually arresting and interesting. Oh, I haven't done the full bleed there, have I? That should be down there. Otherwise, I'll get in trouble when I go to the printer. It'll tell me off. All right, so I think that's it for this lesson. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was useful, and I'll see you in the next one.